I wish we could copy. Oh, wait, I think we're live. That was fast, right? Okay, yeah, we're live. Let's roll the intro. Welcome to the next stop on your journey from paycheck to pension. If you're ready to take your finances to the next level, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future, starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Welcome. Good evening. Get in here. Tonight we're talking about one mistake. Sorry, I'm trying to pull everything up. One mistake that could cost you significantly in your IRA. It's something that is not talked about a lot because by the time you realized it, it's already too late. Did you know that one small mistake with your IRA could lead to massive penalties and even invalidate your entire retirement savings? Most people don't even realize it.
No. And here's the thing. I talk about this a lot, and I talk about it in many different forms, but we're going to walk down a path that I don't traditionally go down, and that is more detail around how you can actually invalidate.
Yeah, because most people don't even realize how fragile their IRA can be if they accidentally violate one of these IRS's rules, right? All right, so today we're going to break down the most common mistakes that people make and the costly consequences, and most importantly, how to fix them before it's too late.
Absolutely.
So why don't people why aren't they aware of these, just this one thing? Doing this one thing could completely invalidate. Like, you do not have a valid IRS or our IRA anymore past this point. That's crazy to think about, that you could have had this for years. You could have had this for decades, and you make this one mistake, or you make this one mistake decades ago, only to find out that your IRA hasn't been valid this entire time.
Right. And I think it stems from who is creating these and how they're being created, and what's the benefit to you understanding this information or knowing this information earlier. I don't know that there's a benefit to you specifically, and I think that's part of the challenge. There's no true reason why a custodian would break down what this will look like, should look like, don't do these things. And that's where it's kind of incumbent on the individual that created it, the guy that designed it, the company, the custodian that put it all together, to kind of make sure that it's structured, it's ironclad, it's structured such that these mistakes can't be made. Because a lot of this happens inadvertently. A lot of this happens without me knowing it. A lot of this happens with, I thought I was doing A, B, C, and D, only to learn that it was something worse than that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we're going to talk about for sure. So I'm trying to fix your mic real quick.
No problem.
And thank you for that. Thank you for that feedback. We really appreciate that feedback. So before we get into it, do you have questions? Whether you have a self-directed IRA or not, this is for you. If you feel confident with your IRA and investing in non-traditional investments, this is for you. If you just like to learn about the little games that the IRS and the government have set up for decades without really there being a valid reason why this exists, if that's your jam and you like to learn how to avoid playing those games with them, this is for you.
Well, I like the way you phrased games, because that's exactly what this is. It's what can I get away with, and who's going to truly find out, and what's the ultimate impact if something were to occur. So yeah. It is absolutely, it's an unnecessary game. It's a game that shouldn't be played with your retirement dollars.
Yeah.
But it absolutely is a game. So I think you're correct on that.
Yeah. When you were walking me through this, I know that, look, we get it that I get easily triggered by this stuff, but I'm everybody, right? I'm everybody learning that, because this is his industry. This is not my industry. I've been learning along the way through the the years of just being exposed to it from you.
Right.
So as I'm learning this stuff and some of these things, because I'm not taking appointments with clients. This is not for me to learn all of the intricacies, right? I learn as we move along and our portfolio grows. That's when I learn new rules, essentially, right? So as I've done this, there are these moments that happen when I go, why? Why is this a thing? And he goes, because it's a rule. And he's just like, these are rules, you have to follow them, or these are the consequences. Like it's black and white in that way. And on paper, in the law, right, in the courtroom, when the IRS files their audit, or they start to throw penalties and compounding penalties, right? They're not looking at how you feel about it. They don't care. They don't care how we feel about this information. It's just the fact that it's law, like it's a rule, right?
The speed limit on the freeway is 65. No one said you had to like it.
Yeah.
And no one said you didn't have to drive 65.
Right.
Drive the 95. That's fine. It's only a problem until it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, this is a problem. I'm going to tell you that right now. This rule, this one thing, there's about, I was looking up stats on this to see like how many people are impacted by this. About 30% of IRA account holders are impacted by this. Now, whether or not they know how to fix it, that's a whole nother thing.
Right.
But we're going to learn what it is, how to identify if you've done this, right? Because having an completely invalid IRA would matter. You need to know that. And then the other part is how to fix it, or how to start over if you've already gone in too deep and it's already a whole hot mess. So those are the things that we're going to go over. Anything else?
Yeah. So a couple things. How did this even come about? Like, why are we even talking about this today? And here's the thing. Next week, we will be in another state presenting to some, I'll call it, well-versed individuals around how to leverage and use a self-directed IRA or 401k. This is not my normal audience. My normal audience when it relates to IRAs and 401ks or self-directed IRAs and 401ks are usually novice. These are people who are learning how powerful a vehicle like this might be. Well, I'm speaking in front of a group who already know this. So there's no point in going down the path of this is what an IRA is, or this is what a 401k is, and this is how it can be powerful for you. So it caused me to kind of go into my bag a little bit and kind of identify what are those areas of opportunity that I traditionally do not speak about. And this came up. And it came up because I was talking with a client who was thinking about moving moving a property into their retirement account. It is something that is possible. It is something that is doable, but you have to understand how and why to go about it, how to go about it. And so my objective was to kind of help this individual, and in turn, I kind of uncovered some other areas where, you know what, I don't traditionally talk about this subject. So that's what prompted this. And in kind of digging into these details, I'd stumbled across something that, you know what, it went, if you don't do this, or if you do this, what is the full impact? And the results, I'll call it the end of it all was the invalidation of your retirement account. Let's make sure we understand what that means. Invalidation of your retirement account says what you thought was a retirement account is no longer one. So if we're talking about an IRA, invalidation of an IRA says you no longer have an IRA. That is pretty impactful.
Why, like, you get it if you're out here doing something that's bad.
Right.
Like, that would make sense, right? But when I tell you, you're going to be shocked to learn what this is and why this is even a thing. Well, you know what? Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. All right, here we go. And let me know if his mic is better, by the way. I think he's just farther from the mic than I am, so we'll fix that. All right, here we go. Mm-hmm. All right.
And can you hear me better over here now?
Yep.
Just so we're clear? All right. So, couple things. Again, traditionally, I'm presenting in front of a group of maybe 50 to 100 people, and I'm breaking down the basics of an IRA or 401k. And this is this slide specifically is one that I spend very little time on, meaning there's a few rules that you should be aware of. And that is prohibited transactions, and disqualified persons. Those are traditionally the two rules that I mentioned. Hey, as long as you stay away from these two items, you're fine. I don't really go into detail around where prohibited transactions come from, any real true detail around what they are. I just kind of stay very high level. Stay away from prohibited transactions and who are the disqualified persons, and I kind of leave it at that. But what I want to do is dig into a little bit more detail around why and how this is so impactful and the impact, the true impact on your retirement account. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail than normal, meaning we're actually going to dig into a little bit of the IRS code. And I am not a tax attorney. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just some guy with an opinion. I'm a retirement consultant. That's what I do. I help create IRAs and 401ks to allow you to be able to invest in non-traditional investments. This is straight out of the IRS code 408M. And what it highlights, the piece to pay attention to is this piece here. Such an account ceases to be an IRA. Such an account ceases to be an IRA, meaning you no longer have an IRA as of the first day of a prohibited transaction. The minute you engage in a prohibited transaction, you lose your IRA. That's impactful. But again, let's go a little bit further. When I'm talking about prohibited transactions, what do I mean? I don't need all of that. What do I mean? Traditionally, I highlight these three areas. You can't purchase life insurance with your retirement account. You can't purchase S-Corp shares with your retirement account. And you can't purchase collectibles with your retirement account. This item here is usually a separate subject, disqualified persons. But in truth, it is all under what's considered prohibited transactions. Disqualified persons is just one more piece that is under the, I'll call it the very layered prohibited transactions as identified by the IRS. So again, life insurance, S-Corp shares, collectibles, not to be confused with precious metals, but there's a fine line here that deserves to be addressed, but we won't be doing that today. And then the other piece, again, as I mentioned, disqualified persons. So those are what they are. And a very simplified, and I mean oversimplified example. Go ahead, sweetheart.
I was just saying.
Yeah, I got you. A very oversimplified example is, let's say you've got $100,000 in your traditional IRA, or traditional IRA, whether it's self-directed or not, it doesn't matter. You've got $100,000 in it, and it's 2010, long time ago, and you engaged 14 years ago in some prohibited transaction, regardless of what it is. It does not matter what the prohibited transaction was, but for whatever reason, your IRA or a portion of your IRA, $10,000 of this $100,000 engaged in that prohibited transaction. Well, then what that means is your entire $100,000 now became a taxable event. You now need to add $100,000 to your income back then and pay taxes on that $100,000, regardless of the amount that was engaged in the prohibited transaction, meaning it voids your IRA. Well, what if you didn't? What if you didn't know? What if you didn't know you were engaging in a prohibited transaction? And because you didn't know, you continued on. And now it's 2024. Well, not only do you owe the tax associated with the $100,000, those interest and penalties continue to compound, continue to get bigger, continue to go far beyond that initial amount. And again, you didn't even know. No one informed you. It only became an issue when it became an issue. Again, speed limit is 65. You can drive 65 all day, but that day you decide to go 95 and you get pulled over. It wasn't a problem until you got pulled over. It's not a problem until it's a problem. And that's my issue. So, but let's restate. And again, I get it. If I'm restating what has already been said, if you've heard this before, please stick with me because I get it. I cover this a lot. And especially if you guys have been a part of this channel for any period of time, you know you cannot provide your personal guarantee as it relates to having a self-directed retirement account. And what do I mean? What do I mean by personal guarantee? What I'm saying is lending of money or other extension of credit between a plan and a disqualified person, or sale or exchange or leasing of any property between a plan or a disqualified person. A lot of words. But ultimately, that just means a disqualified person can't be involved with your retirement account. And the piece I want to highlight, though, is the lending of money or other extension of credit. Extension of credit. Keep that up here. Extension of credit between a plan and a disqualified person. What is an extension of credit? We will get to it. But keep that up there, extension of credit. So when we talk about disqualified persons, it's a very simple list of people. It's a straight line of individuals. I'll make that a little bit smaller. It's a straight line of individuals. It's you, your grandparents, your parents, your kids, your grandkids, you and your spouse, and any of their spouses. Meaning it's a straight line. Again, grandparents, parents, you and your spouse, kids, grandkids, and any of their spouses. Straight line. Usually when I'm covering this subject, I say, but who did I not mention? Who's not a part of this list? Focus on the people who are not a part of this list. Meaning, if you've got a self-directed IRA and you're looking to make an investment and you want to involve someone else, who did I not mention? I did not mention cousin, brother, nieces, nephews. I didn't mention Donnell. If you want to invest with me using your self-directed IRA, not a problem because I am not a disqualified person. So, and I usually leave it at that. But who is the number one disqualified person in this list? It's you. 9 times out of 10, if a disqualified person is going to be involved and if it causes a prohibited transaction, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be caused by you. In most cases, it's not any of these individuals unless you're lending money or creating a rental property and putting them in it. But in most cases, you are the one that's taking some action that you didn't realize you were taking, which causes a prohibited transaction. So again, 2 things to remember. I want to focus on the extension of credit and who is the number one individual causing these prohibited transactions? You. So, also, another thing to note here is if you are transferring anything that has a loan on it, what are those things that have loans on them? If you're transferring anything that has a loan on it into your retirement account, it can be also deemed a prohibited transaction. What am I talking about? Transfer of real or personal property by a disqualified person to his plan will be treated as a sale or exchange of property and is subject to a mortgage. Meaning, this can be deemed a prohibited transaction if you move property, or depending on where that property comes from, into your retirement account. This is important. And again, if you have a traditional retirement or a self-directed IRA, you probably know these things. I'm not sharing with you anything that's unusual or new. I have not touched on anything that has said, you know what, I am concerned as to whether or not I am or am not doing that. But again, stay with me, please. Quick example, we've got John Doe, and that's D-O-U-G-H, by the way, John Doe. He thought his IRA was bulletproof, like most of us do. He thought his IRA was going to provide him the, I'll call it the tax benefit or the relief or the shelter, the tax shelter that most retirement accounts offer. He thought it was bulletproof or ironclad until he learned from the IRS that it was not. And so what ended up happening was his IRA, his self-directed IRA, became invalid immediately. But let's walk through how this comes about. And this is I'll call it a normal example that happens between a lot of us. This is not unusual or new. Let's say John Doe is interested in buying a property. And he's interested in buying a property from any, I'll call it financial institution, from you, from me, or from Rando Investment Group. What's the easiest way to purchase a property in most cases? Is it easier for you to purchase it outright and then move it into your business? Or is it easier for just to purchase it from your business? I would love to know from a chat perspective what you think. What is traditionally the easiest approach when you're looking at buying an investment property? Should you buy it outright yourself, put it in your name, or would it be easier to purchase it using your LLC, your S Corp or C Corp, buying it from your business? What would you say? Go ahead, sweetheart.
Well, it's definitely easier to use your own personal information than it is your business to buy it with your business.
Why?
Well, because they see it more as more of a guarantee,
right.
and things are just structured in that way. Everything that they have says, nope, go for the Social Security number. That is how they can better guarantee that they're going to get their money.
It's easier. It's easier to qualify using your social, your credit score, your credit worthiness, and a bank has the ability to deep dive into your personal situation. And so it's easier to go through that underwriting process using you personally. And then once you have the property, then you can do what you want.
Yeah. So it's almost like banks don't know. Can we just say that maybe they don't know that you can buy it with IRA, with the LLC owned by your IRA? Maybe they say, like, why at this point, though, why wouldn't they have this more streamlined for people who are wanting to utilize retirement accounts for the purpose of financial stability for retirement? Like, why isn't everybody on board? Can we all in the chat agree with that? Why isn't everybody on board with this?
But notice, we're not even talking about a retirement account. We're just talking about buying a property using your personal.
Okay, I'm skipping ahead.
Social security number and your personal resources.
Yeah.
Versus a business.
Yeah.
Not even, you're buying it with a retirement account I'll call it an additional layer.
Okay, so John Doe, he bought the property from Rando Investment Group.
And he bought it using his social security number.
All right.
Meaning, when he signed the mortgage papers, when he signed the information, his signature on the document, his social security number in those documents did what? It basically said, hey, bank, if I, for whatever reason, default on this loan, you get to come after who? Me. So I have now provided my personal guarantee to attain this property. And so we do it. Congratulations, John, you now have a property. And what's the first thing that most of us do in this situation, or a lot of us? Well, if we are looking to move this property from where it is into our business, we have the ability to do what's called, and I see an error here, a quitclaim. A quitclaim deed. Quitclaim meaning you're able to basically sell the property to your business for whatever you deem the property is worth. And so, yes, this is real. You can absolutely sell the property, move the property into your business for as little as $10. Again, so what did we just do here? We personally bought a property. Once we finally got that property, once we got the deed to that property, we then sold that property to our business. To, where's it at? Doe Holdings. Doe Holdings LLC is what it's called. Well, then comes along and we find out that per state and public record, who actually owns the LLC? Who actually owns Doe Holdings LLC? Well, through public record, we learned that Doe Holdings LLC is actually owned by the Doe family's self-directed IRA. And again, you may view this as, wait a minute, I've got a self-directed IRA, and I know in order to have a self-directed IRA, structure-wise, that IRA has to purchase an LLC. That's what gives me checkbook control. Again, these are all things that we've been over many, many times. And then I use the EIN number of that LLC to purchase properties, like no brainer. But wait a minute, why would I put a property that I bought personally into a business owned by my LLC? You may be saying I would never do that. What I am sharing with you is this is not, I'll call it a out of the box error. This is there are people out here who are doing this consistently on a daily basis. They secured a property personally and moved it into their LLC through the form of a quitclaim deed, not realizing their LLC is actually owned, not realizing, they realize it. It's ignoring the fact that their LLC is actually owned by an IRA. Go ahead.
Is it possible that it's just because it's far too common to hear people making this move? Because even Gabo in the chat, he's like, yeah, here it is. If you buy your property under your personal name, you can switch it to an LLC as soon as the same closing.
No brainer.
Right.
It's a no brainer.
This is normalized.
Right. And that's and again, just so we're clear, I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I agree with you. This is a normal process. The piece that I want you to pay attention to is the steps that are missed in this process. Because again, this is normal. This is not unusual. What I want to know from you guys, and Gabo, let me ask you, what has happened here? If what has happened is, let me move that over a little bit. If what has happened is we have moved this property that was in my personal name into the LLC that was owned by my IRA, what problem was caused? And what violations exist as a result? And again, I'm just looking for opinions. What do you think? What do you think has happened as a result? And we'll obviously quickly get into it. But before I do, let me just remind how IRAs are created. And again, because you may thinking, I got a self-directed IRA, but I did not even know my self-directed IRA could even buy a property. That would probably mean your IRA isn't structured to do so. But when I talk about a self-directed retirement account, I'm talking about a self-directed retirement account that can do anything, buy anything, with the exception of those prohibited transactions, right? So how do you create an IRA that can buy and do anything? Well, first, the IRA itself has to be moved to a custodian that will accept a true self-directed IRA, and then that IRA has to purchase an LLC. This LLC is not your LLC. This LLC is not an LLC you bought, you purchased. We had to use the funds of the IRA to purchase the LLC, and so that allows us to funnel funds from the IRA itself into the checking account of that LLC, which gives you then checkbook control over those retirement dollars. So in the example that I'm referencing, the gentleman, John Doe, purchased the property with his social security number, did a quitclaim deed into the LLC, moving the property into the LLC that was owned by this IRA, which caused a problem. What was the problem? Well, the sale, and again, this is going back to the IRS code that we kind of went over earlier, the sale or exchange or leasing of any property between a plan and a disqualified person. Who are the disqualified persons? Again, the number one disqualified person is who? John. So John did a quitclaim deed. Well, first step that John did was he signed he bought the property using his social security number. So that was step one.
Right.
John is a disqualified person. So when he moved that property into the LLC owned by the IRA, that was the first step in, hey, violation. Lending of money or other extension of credit between a plan or a disqualified person. John signing the mortgage documents on the purchase of the property gave the bank what? His personal guarantee. So the extension of a line of credit, meaning he extended his personal, I'll call it credit worthiness as a line of credit to the bank to now give us this mortgage. So therefore, another violation. And then lastly, any sale or exchange of encumbered property within your retirement account from a disqualified person. Again, 3 violations here. So the question, does John still have a valid IRA? As a result of these violations, does John still have a valid IRA? It's a pretty simple answer, and the answer is no. So what are the results? Make sure that's centered. What are the results? His IRA is considered completely distributed, meaning he no longer has an IRA. The dollars that are in it, regardless of how much he used to buy this IRA, remember, he sold the property for $10 to his LLC. So he only used $10 of his IRA to buy, or $10 of the LLC, which was owned by the IRA, to buy the property. But that $10 caused his entire IRA to become fully distributed. Everything in it has now been distributed. And now he owes taxes and penalties on all of it. And it happened from the date he signed his quitclaim deed. So what if we didn't learn this for another 15, 20 years? What if that property had been sold 4 times? It had appreciated and it's now worth triple what it was worth when he originally bought it. None of that matters. From the date he signed that quitclaim deed is the date that the IRS or whoever might be, I'll call it prosecuting him, would be going back to. And then the interest and penalties owed for the full amount. And then lastly, and this is huge, and I don't think people understand the impact of this creditor protection. And here's what I mean. Usually when you buy something inside of your retirement account, one of the luxuries or the reasons why you want to buy it inside of your retirement account is if something were to happen, you can't be, creditors can't come after you. You are protected. And because you are protected, it allows you to kind of move a little bit differently by purchasing products inside of your assets inside of your retirement account, because you know you have this veil covered over you if something were to happen. Meaning, if you bought a rental property inside your retirement account and for whatever reason a renter got hurt, who are they going to sue? How far can they get? Can they get to the rest of your retirement? Can they get to the rest of your retirement? And so as a result of this action, he no longer has that protection, which means other creditors can come after him as well. Coming in?
No.
Okay. All right. So something I want to highlight here, and I get it. I get it. We have been over this a lot. This is not new information. Like, again, if you have been with me, if you're one of my clients and you have a self-directed retirement account, you know very well that you can't move personal items into your retirement account. That is a prohibited transaction. I get it. But again, I promise you, stick with me. Because I get it. I understand you understand how this process works, most of you. But what if I told you, if anyone gives a personal guarantee, it's a prohibited transaction if someone agrees to indemnify a broker or security for indebtedness. Not my words, legal words. But what does that mean? Again, indemnify a broker, security for indebtedness. Before I get into what those mean, what those words mean, what I want to highlight here is a letter that was sent to the Department of Labor. Who's the Department of Labor? The Department of Labor actually makes the rules that the IRS follows. Most people think we have to follow rules set by the IRS. That is not true. The IRS is just an entity that waits on direction. They wait on direction provided to them by the U.S. Department of Labor. And so this is a letter to the Department of Labor simply asking, it's a little bit smaller, asking for a response to your request related to prohibited transactions. And I'm not going to read all of this, but I just highlighted a few areas. The advisory opinion concerns whether it would be a prohibited transaction for an individual to grant a brokerage firm like Fidelity, brokerage firm like Edward Jones. So it's the advisory opinion. They're looking for the opinion on whether or not it would be a prohibited transaction for an individual to grant a brokerage firm the individual establishments of an IRA with the broker, meaning if the application for some type of brokerage account with Fidelity, with Morgan Stanley, with Edward Jones, if I gave my personal guarantee or if I had to give my personal guarantee to Fidelity in order to open an IRA, is that a prohibited transaction? In essence, that is what this is asking. So let me restate. This is asking, hey, if for whatever reason I am required to give a personal guarantee to Fidelity to open an IRA, to open a traditional IRA, is that deemed a prohibited transaction? And the Department of Labor comes back and says, and it almost is condescending if you kind of read this. Again, I'm not going to read it all for you, but it's somewhat condescending because it says that it sets forth that the department's view is that the individual's non-IRA accounts, in order to cover the indebtedness, and indebtedness is saying, hey, your personal guarantee to open this account, it would be impermissible and an extension of credit, ultimately stating, if you were to do this, it will be deemed a prohibited transaction. Again, if you were to provide your personal guarantee to Fidelity to open an IRA, it would be deemed a prohibited transaction by the Department of Labor. And again, what does all this mean for you? Because surely this is not something that you're engaged in. If I went to Fidelity to open an IRA, surely Fidelity knows that I cannot provide my personal guarantee. Because if I provided my personal guarantee to open this IRA, that could be deemed a prohibited transaction. So surely this is not the case with me. Surely this is not the case with my traditional IRA that I've gotten from Equity Trust or the traditional IRA that I got from Morgan Stanley. Surely this is not the case. What I'm sharing with you, and again, this is not meant for you to read or understand any of it. I'm just going to highlight some areas. What you're looking at is an application of a major firm. I'm not asking you to read any of this. What I want to highlight is this sentence right here. Security for indebtedness. Inside the documents for the application for this IRA, it states security for indebtedness. What does that mean? Well, as I just mentioned, this is saying that, hey, when you fill out the application for your IRA, we are going to require that you give your personal guarantee for us to open that IRA, meaning you are providing an extension of line of credit, meaning if something were to happen, we can come after you for opening this traditional IRA. So my question to you is, have you reviewed your paperwork or your plan documents to see whether or not it includes the words indemnify or indebtedness? Who would do that? Of the 40 pages of information that you probably have as it relates to your IRA or 401k, have you combed through that document looking for this information? Why would you? I am confident you did what I would do, and that is, if I'm getting an IRA from Morgan Stanley, they already know this. They know I can't provide my personal guarantee. They would never put me in a position where I would be causing a prohibited transaction. Why? Because I am working with fiduciaries. I'm working with people who have my best interest at heart. So of course, they would not put me in a position where this could potentially impact all of my retirement. Surely.
Well.
And again, before I get into an example, I just want to restate, I know there's many of us who have an IRA, and I know there is no way these major banks would be putting us in this position. And again, this is just simply a snapshot out of an IRA application, and it's a major institution. I am not out here to put people on blast or put companies on blast. That is not my responsibility. But what I'm asking you to do is take a moment, dig into your documents, and make sure you don't have a security for indebtedness or indemnify somewhere located in your documents. Because what I will show you is an old court case. And again, I'm not expecting you to be able to read any of this. It's grainy, it's old. I pulled it out of matter of fact, I think the email that I pulled it out of was like 2005. This information is just old. But my point to you is this. Here's a very old example around a bankruptcy case. Again, this has nothing to do with a self-directed IRA or 401k. It has nothing to do with buying property. It has nothing to do with investing in non-traditional investments. It has to do with a gentleman who was going through a bankruptcy. Let's put ourselves in the shoes. Let's say we're going through this bankruptcy. For whatever the reason is. Got in over my head as it relates to an SBA loan. My debt is super high and I need to go through bankruptcy just to get my house in order. Here's what I would expect. If I'm going through a bankruptcy, at least my retirement is protected. At least the money that I have in my 457 plan, the money that I have in my 401k, the money that I have in my IRA, the money that I have in my self-directed IRA is protected. At least I'm going to go through this bankruptcy, and yeah, whatever that fine is that I have and whatever that monthly payment that I have to make, it is going to be whatever it is. But at least my retirement is protected. So again, going through a bankruptcy case, and imagine walking into court thinking you are protected, thinking your IRA, your retirement dollars will not be impacted by this bankruptcy. Matter of fact, it should not even be a subject in this bankruptcy case. Why? That's the whole point of having a retirement account.
Right.
It's protection.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Yep. No different than an LLC if you have a business, right?
Right.
Like there are certain things that people enlist in their
for
structure.
Protection.
Right. Just for protection.
And so that's what this is about. So, but down, and again, I'm not going to read it to you, but what it basically states is Merrill Lynch, it was found by the prosecutor in this case, the bankruptcy lawyer, when they identified what assets they did or didn't have, and they found it, oh, I've got I've got a traditional IRA with Merrill Lynch. And upon the bankruptcy lawyer investigation of the IRA, again, all he did was go through the page documents, the boilerplate information inside of the IRA, the same thing you can do. the bankruptcy lawyer goes, you know what? Uh-oh. It looks like you provided your personal guarantee to Merrill Lynch. And as a result of offering or providing your personal guarantee for Merrill Lynch, everything in your self-directed IRA is now a part of this bankruptcy.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is the part for me, y'all.
So
wait.
Come back.
Okay, because was Merrill Lynch now on the stand?
Wait a minute. Let's peel that back.
Yeah.
Merrill Lynch, they're not a mom and pop retirement institution.
Right.
We can agree that Merrill Lynch has been around for a while.
Yeah.
So it's
reputable,
not
trusted.
Right. They're not
secure.
They just started yesterday and they didn't know.
Right.
Or they didn't have the time to do the necessary investigation to understand whether or not our clients would be impacted by something like this.
Yeah, and it's not like they couldn't afford attorneys to protect their clients. Right.
And again, I'm not, this is not a poo-poo on Merrill Lynch, just so we're clear. What I want to make sure is clear though, this is I cannot allow life insurance companies, financial institutions, and financial advisors to be the subject matter experts in this space, and I expect them to have my back. They don't.
Right.
For whatever reason, this Merrill Lynch IRA had a, security of indebtedness inside the clause of their IRA. And all that's saying is when you go to open your IRA, we just need to make sure we are protected as a company. So I don't know that Merrill Lynch did anything wrong. Most banks do this, right? Mm-hmm. You need to provide me a personal guarantee before I'm going to lend you anything. Like, I get that. It just does not work when it comes to a retirement account, and they should know this. So if Merrill Lynch didn't know it, who else does it?
About 50% of Americans or more.
And I don't have that data, nor can I say. But I think we can agree that if Merrill Lynch has this issue, it is highly probable that there are some other major institutions who do as well.
Well, let's just ask this. Could you tell us that there's a clause in the terms and agreements, of all the terms and agreements that we have signed, who's reading the fine print?
Right.
How many out of millions of people read the fine print that's put in there by the lawyers to protect the company, right?
That's the part.
That's not, terms and conditions aren't, we promise to you that we will do good by you, we will protect you. That's not what those are.
Right.
The terms and conditions is like, listen, we built this thing, we don't want to be sued. So if you're going to use this, you got to sign this thing saying you read all of this, right? Now you can use it.
Right.
No different here. However, the difference is if you have unknowingly broken a rule, invalidated your IRA, and you were advised to do so. Why should that count? Why is this even a thing? Is anybody else asking that question? Why is this a thing?
You said something interesting there around didn't know it. Because I think that's the piece for me too.
Yeah.
I am following, I didn't go to Merrill Lynch and say, I need your IRA that doesn't cause my IRA to become invalidated if something happens. I didn't go to Merrill Lynch for that. I went to Merrill Lynch because I wanted an IRA. And Merrill Lynch said, okay, here's the IRA that you want. And in order to have that IRA, this is the process. I didn't take that process, go to my lawyer and say, hey, lawyer, this is the process that Merrill Lynch wants me to follow. Is that okay? Yeah. They're the subject matter experts. And are you going to tell me that Merrill Lynch doesn't have fiduciary responsibility? Now, we can get into that, but the truth is I walked into Merrill Lynch because I believe, and I've been led to believe, that these institutions provide me fiduciary responsibility, meaning they've got my back.
Right. So why is it that we then have to go and do all of this digging to find out, or it's a situation like this,
Bankruptcy, James Daly, I think is the guy.
A court, a very stressful moment in your life,
right?
That is now like a tide pod of circumstance and consequences. concentrated form where now it explodes into this, and you're going, how, no, this wasn't supposed to be this big. This was not supposed to, no. Why is this a thing? Why didn't I know about this? And how come all of a sudden I'm the first to know, but Merrill Lynch has been knowing that. And Sequia, thank you for talking to us about the audio. We're still trying to figure this out. So the thing is, I think it's his mic is picking up me because we're in the same room now. And my mic is picking up him because he's like across the room. So we got to figure this out. But for right now, hang in here with us, guys. We're trying to work it out. Okay.
All right.
Why is this a thing? Are we all asking this question? Why is this a thing? Why, when we know that there have been real estate developers, let's just use that example, because when we say prohibited transactions, we're not just talking about real estate, right? There's a ton of different ways that you could break this rule.
Right.
And so, but one of the most common things is real estate investing. And so if you are wanting to take advantage of that, first of all, we're not making any more land. So we have to have places to live, right? So real estate is like not going to go away. That's just a pretty solid industry to start with. So why haven't these been more talked about? Why aren't people talking about the dangers of an IRA? Why aren't they even just talking about that? And why is it still the most popular retirement vehicle to date when it has all of these problems and red tape? Why?
Well, Google self-directed IRA. You will find hundreds of banks offer self-directed IRAs. Why? Because self-directed IRAs are easy to create. Because self-directed IRAs doesn't take much to create, and it requires a custodian. It requires bank support. And therefore, because it requires bank support, it requires someone to manage it. It requires someone to make sure you don't make mistakes, which allows them to do what? Charge fees. So banks love IRAs because they make a lot of money off them. And again, the structure around their IRAs are structured that way to benefit who? It's to make sure that the institutions don't get in trouble. It doesn't necessarily mean it's structured so that you don't.
Yeah, well, welcome to Ain't This Some Mess? Okay. Welcome to Why Is This a Thing?
So what happened here? And again, oh, there we go. So what happened here? Well, where am I at? Right there. The opening of the Merrill Lynch IRA, there was a clause that stated, hey, you had to extend whatever, whether it was indemnify or indebtedness, doesn't matter. It caused a loss of the IRA, which means it caused a loss of the retirement plan, which means there's back taxes and interest that are required to be paid. All because he just simply opened a Merrill Lynch IRA. And again, it doesn't say in here how long he had it, because it doesn't matter. It was the moment it was opened, it became a problem. And he didn't know it, which means it's now a part of this bankruptcy when he walked into that courtroom assuming that it was not. And just so we're clear, this has nothing to do with the IRS. The IRS did not come after him. When I create self-directed IRAs and 401ks, and I'm walking through the rules to be aware of, the rules that I am speaking on are, if you were ever audited, these are the things you want to be aware of. Meaning, I am educating around the impact that not following these rules will have as it relates from an IRS perspective. The IRS did not come after this guy. The IRS had no idea that this was going on. So what that means is, while the IRS may ignore these rules, that does not mean that the rest of the court system will. So how do you guard against that? Like, what do you do? Well, first we need to just understand why you should care about this. We want to jump into the question? Is there a question we want?
Oh, it's Ty. She has. Yeah. We do have some questions, but I was just focusing on her comment here. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed at how much IRAs are pushed to us, and they have all these rules. And that's the point, is that the same thing. They have all of this red tape, all of these rules, right, and yet they're the most popular thing. Yeah.
Right. So why should you care? So currently, Most IRA applications fail the Department of Labor test, meaning this is not a unique issue. Most run into this situation of prohibited transaction due to, again, page 98 of a 145-page document that says indebtedness or indemnify. That one statement is the impact, or is the cause of what could be invalidating your entire retirement. And it causes IRAs to be fully taxable and distributed, meaning there is no, oops, my bad, fine me. There's no, I didn't know, so can we just, whatever it was I owed, I'm willing to pay taxes on the amount that was impacted, plus penalty, plus over what it, but don't take everything. No, there's not a, there's no levels or layers to this. It is all gone. And this is a big one for me. In the cases that I ran across, none of them involved the IRS. What do I mean? Well, the Department of Labor said you can't do these things.
Yeah.
And the IRS can enforce them when they decide. Why are they not? Well, it's because there's still a lot of questions around what is or what isn't. So they're waiting on the Department of Labor to say, I need for you to enforce this statute. So the IRS is just going, hey, we're not going to do anything. Matter of fact, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. We have no idea what's going on. You do what you need to do until the Department of Labor says, you know what, as of today, we're now going to enforce this rule. And guess what? They're going to go back and go get their money. Why do I bring this up? There's a lot of Bitcoin activity going on inside of retirement accounts. There's a lot of institutions that are popping up offering IRAs at low cost so that you can hide your Bitcoin in it, so that you can tax shelter the Bitcoin that you have in it, because you know the government's coming after the tax on Bitcoin at some point. But if it's inside of my qualified plan, will I be impacted by taxes? My gut says they are holding on to this.
Yep.
And so once this kicks in, it's all going to be retro. So it doesn't matter when you opened your IRA, so be careful. And then the last one, once the bankruptcy court decided that this IRA was, that this Merrill Lynch IRA was invalid, you lose all exemption from creditors coming after you, meaning the floodgates have now opened. Once the IRA was deemed invalid, that means now that student loan that you weren't paying on, they get to come after you. That, because you're in bankruptcy court, right? That Citibank that you said, you know what, I got something for Citibank, I'm gonna go ahead and file chapter or whatever, and therefore these creditors will stop coming after me, I'll pay this, this flat fee and I'll be done with it. Nope. Because once you lost your IRA, now everyone gets to come after you. Now everyone has carte blanche opportunity to come after their money. This is quite impactful. And again, this is big. The IRS is not the problem. The IRS is turning a blind eye. So you can look at this two ways. You can look at it as I'm being deceived, or you can also look at it as an opportunity. Because the IRS isn't doing anything about it, you have this time to fix the problem. You have this time to take different action. You have this time to hold your custodian accountable. Now, if we're talking, let's just use Merrill Lynch, for example. Because you went through bankruptcy as a result, you think Merrill Lynch is changing their entire protocol because of you? Probably not. So what actions, what can you do? What things can be done as a result? So there's a few actions you can take. You can restate the IRA. What does that mean? You can update your plan documents to remove that indemnification or the, what's the other word? I can't remember it. But anyway, you can update the plan documents to get rid of it. Now, just so we're clear though, if a prohibited transaction has occurred, moving that prohibited transaction from the IRA that it was caused in to the new IRA with the updated documents, okay, that fixes it from that point, but that doesn't mean the IRA can't go back to the years where you had this problem. So this doesn't fix everything, but it can put you on a path to not having this issue in the future, all right? So in addition, you can do what the IRS is doing. You can ignore this issue. You can just wait till it become a problem. And again, speed limit 65. You can drive 85, 95 all you want. You may have never gotten a ticket. It's not a problem until it becomes a problem. It's not a problem until you find yourself in a situation where you need the protection. So you can't ignore it. That is an option. Or you can simply move from an IRA to a 401k, which sounds strange. And it sounds strange because, and I had to come to the realization that when I communicate or when I educate around prohibited transactions, I communicate from this perspective. Don't engage in prohibited transactions whether you have an IRA or a 401k. Why do I do that? Well, one, it's easy, meaning me telling you to make sure you do not engage in prohibited transactions using your IRA or your 401k is just a level of protection. Keeps you out of hot water. It allows you to be able to take actions and be okay. But the truth, 401ks are not impacted by prohibited transactions, meaning if you were to do the same action inside of a 401k, what happens? Well, you may owe taxes. You may have to correct the investment issue, but it doesn't invalidate your 401k. How is that possible? We'll get into that a little bit. And then the last one is, you do have the ability to write a letter to the IRS asking for forgiveness. This is a thing. This is a real thing. Now, there's a process. There's a cost associated with it. It's not free. But you absolutely can reach out to the IRS and say, hey, my bad. I watched this podcast with some guy and his wife, and they said that I need to go home and check my plan documents. And I've looked at my plan documents. And back in 2012, when I got my IRA, I gave a personal guarantee. And my IRA now has $1.5 million in it. IRS, I'm telling you, I didn't know what I didn't know what I didn't know. Would you please exclude me from any action or potential action that may be happening? You can do this. Again, there is a cost to it, but it can be done. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Dear IRS.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My bad. Please forgive me. And also, don't make me pay these taxes or invalidate my IRA. Because I've worked really hard. I don't need to remind you that an IRA is an individual retirement account, and the origins of this account were so that I was not handcuffed to an employer, even through abusive situations, right? That I had a sense of independence because that is the American way, and that I could take this account and I could have a free life. I could create a business if I wanted to. I could generate jobs for other people with this. And at the same time, I could be in control of my own retirement so that I could create financial stability for myself and my family with this type of account. That was all on my shoulders to make sure that I had my best interest in these investments and that my retirement was now my responsibility. Also, it's just going to throw in here, it's kind of messed up that you put so much red tape around here, because if I were a corporation buying these properties, if I were a corporation and I were doing this under the corporation, then suddenly these rules wouldn't apply all of a sudden. If I were a corporation and not an individual just trying to make it, just trying to get out of the, to achieve what you say it's so easy for everybody to achieve, by the way, then this would be a whole lot easier. I would have much more protection, and I would have tax advantages that aren't available to me as an individual. So my bad. If I was just trying to make it, why is this a thing? Is anybody else just angry that this red tape, and they say sometimes that it's like to protect us. They're trying to protect us.
For your benefit.
Yeah.
This is for you.
This is for you.
This 162-page document is for you. It's to protect you.
Yeah.
Let's peel this back a
Thanks.
little bit. What about, you know what? When my son was born, I got him an IRA. And I got that IRA in hopes that, you know what, by the time he gets 50, he'll be able to comfortably, 55, 59, he'll be able to comfortably retire. So he's had this IRA since he was born. I've been putting $200 a month or $100 a year, whatever that amount is, since forever. Or I left this employer because I wanted to get self-directed, have more control, and I got this IRA from this company that said I could do it. You know, this equity trust or this KKOS or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
And
they do real estate.
Absolutely. That will allow me to invest in what I want, non-traditional investments, all of those things. But now you're telling me that I now have to go be a tax lawyer as well?
You know, it's crazy, and I've said this before, but if you're new here, it's really important that you hear this, especially if you are interested or in the real estate investment community. Any real estate investment firm or group that you go to, I'm going to say probably 98% of them will introduce you to somebody to set you up with a self-directed IRA. They will do this because this is a person that they like, know, trust, that can help get you all set up so that you can use your retirement funds to invest in real estate. And people go, wow, that's a hack. Didn't even know you could do that. And you can. This right here is one of the reasons, only one of the reasons why it is horrid that the IRAs are pushed so much, specifically in the real estate community. It's not knowing stuff like this that harms people so much, because regardless of fiduciary responsibility, the consequences fall on you. The other people who told you what to do, they're not there when you're going through it. It's not their IRA or their retirement account that's invalidated, and it's not their penalties or fines that are compounding and that they are responsible for paying. It's not them who's vulnerable to and not protected anymore, right?
Right.
It's crazy.
There's a few ways to look at this. It could be the sky is falling, or it could also be there's an opportunity here. Again, the IRS is waiting on the Department of Labor before they enforce anything. So you can look at it as the IRS has their head in the sand, or they're turning a blind eye, they got the eye, whatever it is. So there's an opportunity to use this time, while it's not an issue from the IRS perspective, to fix this. Use this as an opportunity to identify what are those actions that I need to take. And again, if you have an IRA, traditional IRA through a Fidelity that purchases mutual funds, stocks, and bonds, a self-directed IRA that allows you to be able to invest in non-traditional investments, to include real estate, Roth, traditional, doesn't matter. What you want to know is, when you got this product, were you placed in a position where you had to provide a personal guarantee? That is the question that we want to answer. And if the answer is yes, then we need to take some action. Restate it. I can do that. You can ignore it. I wouldn't. Get a self-directed 401k. To me, this is the no-brainer. And I'll go a little bit further as to why. And then the other one is, you do have the ability to say, hey, IRS, my bad. Now, the logic in me says this is probably the worst thing to do. And here's why the logic in me says this. As of right now, the IRS is ignoring this problem.
Right.
What I'm saying is, hey, let me notify the IRS that there's a problem.
It's like telling your parents, like, listen, I snuck out last night.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to let you know ahead of time that I'm also sorry, and would you forgive me at the same time?
And they're going, thank you for letting me know, but this ass whooping is coming anyway.
Yeah. Also, this is a forgiveness letter, so be focused on the fact forgiveness is a thing.
Right.
Okay?
So the question is, why though? Why is it that a 401k is exempt? Well, let's talk a little bit about a 401k. There's a couple things. Let me make that a little bit bigger, move this over there. No, I'm good. What makes a 401k better? Well, first off, an IRA is in one section of the IRS code. A 401k is in another section. And that in its, I'll call it simplicity, is the reason why. IRAs are under the 408 IRS code. 408 IRS code. The 401k is under the 401 IRS code. 401ks are treated as I think under the right conditions, are a trust. So trusts are not impacted by prohibited transactions. You can do things in a trust you cannot do in a glorified savings account. I say this often. IRAs, individual retirement accounts, are simply glorified savings accounts. You have to add structure to them to allow you to invest in what you want. Whereas a 401k, how do we create them? We move them into move them from their current custodian into a new 401k. New 401ks come with their own EIN number. A properly designed self-directed 401k comes with its own EIN number, which means it already has the structure required or capable or necessary to purchase the investments that you want to invest. And then that gives you that checkbook control over your retirement dollars to do whatever you want. But again, the reason 401ks are not impacted in this situation by prohibited transactions, and when I say impacted, let's be clear. I'm not saying that it's not a problem. I'm not saying that the IRS won't go, whoa, what did you do? What I am saying is you still have a trust. You still have a retirement account. You did not lose the tax advantages, tax privileges, the tax shelter that your retirement account has provided you. I'm not saying you may not have a fee that is, or some cost associated with an error. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the invalidation of your retirement is not possible because this is not a glorified savings account. This is a trust. So I talk a lot about, and again, this is a standard slide that you would see at an event with me, that we talk about the differences between an IRA and a 401k. IRAs require a custodian. 401ks, your trustee does not require one. Contribution limits much lower as it relates to an IRA. You cannot leverage, you cannot get money out of an IRA prior to retirement. Whereas with the 401k, you get to leverage against it, borrow against it. You need money to use for whatever you want, you can do that. This is actually a new slide. These are all the same. IRA, individual retirement account, one per person. You can commingle funds with the 401k. We hinted around UBIT throughout this discussion today. We just didn't call it out explicitly, meaning UBIT applies when you use leverage dollars inside of an IRA. You will owe tax on the amount based off the amount of leverage you use. So UBIT applies inside of an IRA. UBIT does not apply inside of a 401k. You need an LLC to have the structure in an IRA because an IRA is just a glorified savings account. You do not need that same structure. And again, there's no income limitations as it relates to a 401k, but there is as far as an IRA. But this last one, prohibited transactions. I want to make this a little bit bigger if I can. Prohibited transactions. Prohibited transactions apply in an IRA and causes your distribution, causes a full distribution of your IRA, meaning if you are engaged in a prohibited transaction inside your IRA, you lose your IRA. Whereas with the 401k, and that no impact, I'm gonna say is deceiving. That's my bad. I won't say it's no impact. Your retirement account is not invalidated. Your retirement account is not deemed a distribution. There may be a fee. The IRS is gonna get theirs, right? There's not really a whole lot we can do about that. And so what about prohibited transactions inside of a 401k? 401ks are not impacted by the indebtedness or indemnification impact, which means it is not deemed a distribution. The key piece, the moral of the story here is you have time to fix this problem. The best thing you can do is understand whether it is a problem or transition from an IRA just to make sure that there is not a problem and get yourself a self-directed 401k. And as always, I am not a tax attorney. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Run what I am saying by your tax attorney. Run what I am saying by the custodian who holds your IRA. Give Fidelity a call. Ask them this question, have them go find the answer, and have them email you the response. Don't just let them tell you over the phone, oh, don't worry about it. Nah, send me verification that this is not an issue.
He said, nah, no, that's not going to work.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I need you to send me a forgiveness letter alongside of anything
How about
else you
this?
send
I
me.
need your personal guarantee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I'm going to need a healthy dose of forgiveness.
Man.
Healthy dose.
So that's all I got.
All right, we've got questions, so let's jump into the Q&A. All right, so we've got some people who have some shocking revelations here tonight, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we can get this information out here, especially because when you look at the origin of something, like the initial intent for a vehicle such as an IRA, and then you look at all of the, we'll call them sprinkles, that were added along the way, like UBIT, for instance, and then you learn the reason why UBIT even exists in the first place. Not a lot of people talk about it because it doesn't apply to everyone, right? To the average person. Oh yeah, my bad. It doesn't apply to the average person. However, it does make a difference when something like unrealized gains starts to float to the top, right? And become like this trending topic.
Right.
Because UBIT essentially was, at the core, it was a conversation about unrealized gains, or it was differently qualified gains.
Right.
Yeah.
All of this was designed to help. All of this was designed to put us in a position to where we could do the things we wanted to do without fail, without impacting our ability to be successful. Like, it was designed to protect us.
Yeah. Right.
My issue with all of this is,
We think.
where's the protection?
Hey.
Like, again,
I
you can't
heard a
tell
lot
me-
about forgiveness, but not a lot
Right.
about protection.
You can't tell me that if I had a financial advisor standing in front of me for one of these institutions, and I just simply asked the question, are you my fiduciary? Do you have fiduciary responsibility over my account? You know they're going to say yes. But hopefully, if you've been following us for a fair amount of time, you know that that's incorrect just in that statement alone, meaning their first responsibility is to their broker dealer. So their first responsibility is to the company that they work for. Their second fiduciary responsibility is to me. They're going to take care of Morgan Stanley first. They're going to take care of Edward Jones first. They can only offer you what those facilities have to offer. Secondary, then they're going to make sure that I'm okay. But it's going
Right.
to start with them first. So when the first words out of their mouth are, hey, yep, I am a fiduciary and I've got your back. Note that they are selling products to you. So that just means we have to go a step further. We have to go one level beyond that. And it saddens me that we have to take more responsibility around this stuff. But the truth is, that is what becoming self-directed means.
Yes, absolutely.
Self-directed just simply means
Yes.
I am now in control over what this process looks like.
Right.
I am now playing more of a role in being responsible for what this process looks like. Why? Because I realize that life insurance companies, financial institutions, financial advisors are just selling me products.
Yeah.
I want the products that they're selling. But I can't just stop there. I can't just be okay with that mortgage. I realize that the only reason they're selling me this mortgage is because this is the vehicle that makes them the most profit.
Well, and when you go to a lender to go do the deal, a lot of times people will initially go in and say, no, I want to buy this under my business. I want to buy this under the protection, right?
Right.
Under the hedge of protection of my retirement account, because I want to be able to use the income that's coming from this property or from this business as I want it to qualify as income going into my retirement account. I'm totally fine. This is how I want to structure this. And when they get there, the lender says, but you know what? It would be easier to qualify if you would just, all you got to do is,
Right.
all you got to do is, and because you're hearing it from the lender side, you're going, well, I guess
They're the subject matter expert.
well, like,
They
I
get
guess,
paid to give me this information.
why would
went to school for it.
why would I choose to make it more difficult if all they're saying is I can just do it this way and then just roll it in?
Right.
Simple, easy peasy, right? And probably somebody over there is going, my team will thank me for not having to go through all of this red tape to get this person qualified. I don't do them very often, so I'm not very versed in them because we encourage everybody to do it this way. They're also programmed to believe that it's easier to do it this way. What if we just did them more often? Wouldn't somebody make it easier if we started forcing and making them do it the right way so that we were protected? Then they would have to learn and they wouldn't be discouraging people, which, by the way, is the same reason why people get discouraged from getting a first position HELOC. Same exact thing. Why would you want to do that? They ask, right? No, you don't want that. So that's that. I want to get to the questions.
Okay.
So
Sure, there's a lot.
yeah, if you're okay with it. Okay, Mr. Bond first says, which is kind of unrelated, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that note, so we can also use this time because I meant for this example to move pretty quickly, but I think it took longer than I was anticipating.
Oh, shocker.
Mainly because I think when I got into this, because there was actually 3 topics that I was going to cover today. This is only one of the 3. I think what I realized was this needs the time. It needs the detail because this is quite impactful. If God forbid the Department of Labor changed their mind, this will be super impactful to all with an IRA. There's no way around it.
Well, and there's a ton of people inheriting IRAs, so there's a huge transfer of wealth. This will apply to a lot of people.
Amen. So this is also meant to be, my point is, this is also meant to be a ask me anything. So please ask me anything.
Okay, well, Mr. Bond's asking you anything. So what happened to the MPI calculator? Where can we find that now? Or the alternative? Hold on. Second part is it was such a great marketing tool. Also, is there an alternative that we can play with now for numbers?
Yep. So actually, if you go back to, but I think the site is compoundinterest.com if I'm not mistaken. And if you scroll to the middle of the page, there is a calculator there. It's not the same calculator. It doesn't function the same way, but it is a calculator that gives, I'll call it more general, because you make a great point. Because there may be more MPI related questions coming. It was a great marketing tool. That's exactly what it is and was, a marketing tool.
Yeah.
It does not necessarily say this is exactly what's going to happen. What it's saying is, hey, based off math, based off performance over time, based off structure, this is what this could look like. And now let's break down where these figures came from. So I agree. I love the tool, actually. So the calculator is still there. It's just not in the form that you remember it. And if you are interested in understanding a little bit more as to what a specific situation for yourself would look like, man, get on my calendar.
Yep.
I can still break those numbers down. I've got my own tools that I can dig into some of those details. But again, the calculator that you're referencing has changed, but it's still in the same location. Scroll to the middle of the page. You'll see it.
All right. And, okay, Gabo says, what about if the LLC was created in Wyoming since there's no trace of who is the owner? Follow Gabo for more hacks.
It depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on the detail in reference. Meaning, the LLC that you're referencing, who owns that LLC? You? Or does your IRA own it? Because the issue is still the same if your IRA owns an LLC and that LLC is now purchasing a property that you gave your personal guarantee for. So it's not the structure of the LLC per se. It's the action that you've taken as a disqualified person with the LLC, whether it was created in Arizona, Wyoming, or New York, doesn't matter. It's the action that you've taken to guarantee this property or purchase whatever this vehicle might be, which causes the prohibited transaction. So it's not necessarily where the LLC is created. Because for an IRA, I can create an LLC from anywhere. I create many Wyoming LLCs that live under IRAs doing a self-directed IRA creation. So I do this often. So that's not an issue at all. It's the transaction that's the concern. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Well, I wish Justin was able to log in and help us with starting the comments. All right. Well, here we go. Let's keep going here. Okay. So it doesn't matter where, it matters when they find out.
And that's the part.
Yeah.
Again, I want to stress this. Use this as an opportunity to fix the problem. Not use this as a woe is me, the world is coming to an end, I can't believe Fidelity did me this way. No, that's not it. There's an opportunity to fix this. Now, and I go back to moving, I've got this IRA that I've learned that I gave my personal guarantee on. So now I'm going to move it to an IRA where I don't. If the IRS decides to implement the impact on that personal transaction, that does not fix the problem.
Right. Right.
Because the time from you gave your personal guarantee to the time you change your plan documents is still an issue.
Right.
And if we know anything else about the government, they're running out of the money that they need to be able to fulfill the agreements that they had around these programs like Social Security and everything else.
Yeah.
So they are coming for their money. I believe they are holding this, waiting on the Bitcoin conversions, the digital coin, whatever's going to happen around the dollar, whatever's going to happen around. I believe they are holding back this type of stuff for that.
Well, and why would they make it a point to talk about it when they're the one that benefits if you break the rules?
That's the part.
This transfer though.
Transfer will.
Yep. The inheritance, the inherited IRAs are going to be, because the chances that you have passed on the IRA and the knowledge.
And the problem.
Well, you could be passing on a problem, or you didn't pass on the knowledge. And so therefore you're thinking to yourself, I'll build the legacy. Then I'll just give it to them. They can learn once I give it to them. You tried to talk to them about things and they were just like, no, it's not a vibe. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And then you thought, I'm going to give them all of these houses, right? In this IRA, that's my gift to you. You're welcome. How did that happen? Are they trying to trick us? And that's what they're going to think is, wow, what a gift. What a thing to leave somebody. But because they didn't know that they were about to break a rule, or they tried to liquidate, or they tried to say, hey, well, somebody else said that I could do this, and all your entire legacy is now gone, invalidated because of one simple mistake. And it is a far too common mistake to make as well, because there's a blurred line here when you're talking to people about converting or the transfer of assets from the personal into your LLC. Not everyone connects. Well, what about an LLC that's owned by an IRA, right?
Right.
So this is why we have to start having these conversations. This needs to be coffee book conversations. This needs to be breakfast over tea, over coffee, over lunch, over dinner. We need to start helping each other out, because I'll tell you what, people are really fast. They're quick to jump in. And when you're talking about a 401k, or you're talking about Bitcoin, or you're talking about any type of investment, they're really quick to jump in and be like, oh, IRA, it's trusted. Like, you should have an IRA. So a lot of times they don't even know why they're saying it. They're just saying it because it's a common thing for people to talk about. It's normalized.
That's it.
Because it's called an individual retirement account. That makes sense.
Name. It's
right,
in the name.
Exactly. It's in the, why would they name it that if it wasn't for an individual's and retirement?
That's it. It's in the name.
Right. Why would they do that?
It has to be secure.
Doesn't make sense.
And I'm with the institution that's been around since like before the Great Depression.
Merrill Lynch.
Of course, they got my back.
Yeah. Look at us. Look at us with this reputation and this terms and conditions that you didn't read. Who cares about that part? Welcome to Why Is This a Thing? And we're going to keep going here. So Nurse HQ, I don't know if you're still on, but she says commingling of funds issue. So you hadn't brought that up necessarily, but I think that this is I love to talk about how you can commingle funds in a self-directed 401k.
Right.
What happens when you do it in an IRA?
Right. IRA, individual retirement account. It's in the name. Meaning you can't commingle funds in an IRA. You can have one. Well, I can have an IRA. You can have an IRA.
Yeah.
We can have both of our IRAs can go invest and do things.
And both of our IRAs can pay completely two sets of fees.
That is true.
That's awesome.
That is true.
Love that for us.
Because a lot of times these IRAs you guys are getting from these custodians are based off the dollar amount in them. Not based off just the creation of the IRA. It's she's got $1 million. I've got $10. It cost me $5 to create, or it cost me $1 to create my IRA. It cost her $50,000. Why is that a thing? It's the same IRA, same process, but I'm discriminated against because I have less money?
Well, we also have to take into account that when we left the workforce, the factories, the pensions, right? When they were like, "Hey, look, we're done with this. This is costing too much, and it's really risky. We don't want to do all this math." Okay, that's pretty much it. We don't want to do the math. People are like relying on these pensions now. Who would have thought? So now we have to actually pay out, and that's kind of a whole other department. If we get rid of this and we just say, hey, you can have control over your retirement, we don't have to be in charge anymore. That means we also don't have to ensure the fact that we can pay you all that we promised, because it's really killing our buzz around here. We are stressed out trying to make good on these promises, and we can't write forgiveness letters for pensions not paid out, right? So now you guys do it. This will be so much better. An entire industry of professionals and careers were born out of this, and they relied on the fact that it's now in your hands. But instead of saying, like, you're smart enough to do this, like, you can do this by yourself, they said, actually, you're not only are you responsible, we're not going to talk to you about how to do it. We're just going to tell you that you have to pay these people.
Right.
To not talk to you about how to do it. They're just going to do it for you. So instead of just showing up to work and doing your job, and then your job makes sure that you're taken care of, because that was the pension. That was a beautiful plan. Now you have no idea what's going on. There's constantly new red tape sprinkles, to Ty's point. Red sprinkles that are really little pieces of red tape that are everywhere. And these tripwires or mines that you could just bite into at any point in time because you don't know. Why? Because you're focused on doing your job. Why? Because you didn't go to school to learn this part. You're focused. You had to go to school, get a degree, or learn your trader skill to be able to make the income to feed this dang thing, right? But if you don't spend the time to learn, then guess what? It doesn't matter who has touched your account. It's your fault. And you can write a forgiveness letter if you want, so we can read it in the break room and laugh. I don't know what they do with these. We should ask somebody. But why is this a thing? Like, are we reading it in front of a board and they decide?
Well, in my civics class in, I think that was 9th grade, we learned this very quickly, and it was ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Oh, there it is.
So just because I didn't know doesn't mean I am somehow free from prosecution.
So what do you write in your forgiveness letter then? Like, I knew this was wrong, did it anyway, but now I'm sorry that I got caught.
And the way I understand it, and this is in talking with my tax attorney buddies that I hang out with often, is that you can write the letter, but that may not be all. There may still be a fine. And just because you wrote the letter, there's going to be a cost associated with that as well. So it doesn't mean that all is forgiven. It just means that this may be an opportunity to right the ship.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll pin that for a different segment. Ty says, if these are prohibited activities, how was he able to proceed with them?
And that's just it. The detail around what a prohibited transaction is or is not is just simply a guideline. The question is, who's standing over your shoulder going, don't do that.
Right.
Don't engage in that. That's a prohibited. No one. And so you're right. It's not a problem until it's a problem. And
right.
I think the analogy around the speed limit is the right analogy.
Well, no, I don't think so. Because,
I do.
Because if you're in a 401k, if you're driving a 401k, then the same speed don't apply. How is that the same?
Well, and again, that's where when I am standing in front of a group educating around self-directed retirement accounts, I've been doing this for well over 10 years, saying, hey, the two things that you need to be aware of are prohibited transactions and disqualified persons. Don't do it. Don't engage in it. And I've never gone into detail because what I don't want to do is get anyone in trouble. I think if you err on the side of caution, you'll be just fine. So if I never engage in a prohibited transaction, there is no reason for me to know whether or not my account did or didn't exempt me from it.
Or if you say something like the IRS isn't paying attention, then someone thinks like, well, then I'll fix it later.
Right.
I'll do it and then write a forgiveness letter.
Exactly. So it's if you Structure things such that I am not engaging in it. You never have to kind of worry about whether or not you are or are not exempt from it. So you're right. I'm in my 401k that is exempt from the 65 mile per hour speed limit. But does that mean it's still safe for me to drive 100 miles an hour? It's not.
Okay, fair enough. But if you're in an IRA and they're telling you that the speed limit is 65 and you're hitting 45 and the car is shaking like this, and they're telling you you can still go. But then they're like, oh, we forgot to tell you that the bolts on your wheels and your alignment was off because of this other thing, right? And then also that squealing that you heard like a couple miles back, you should have pulled over like urgently, but no one told you that. So now, oops, you totaled your car and your engine fell out on the highway. Like, that's not on us. That's not because your IRA was a rust bucket. That's not on us.
But what that speaks to is structure. What
Yeah.
that speaks to is who you get this information from, how, and again, notice, I'm not saying anything different. Like, you could replace IRA and 401k with properly structured cash value life insurance product.
Right.
Like, it's who you get it from, how it's structured. All of that stuff matters. And I get it. You should not have to be the subject matter expert. All I am suggesting you do is don't take someone at their word as though you are going to be okay. Why? These companies, these institutions, they do not care about you. So your job is just to peel the layer back and ask better questions. And so hopefully if you don't get anything else from today, is maybe these are some better questions to ask.
Yeah. And really, the truth is, nobody cares. Like, Target doesn't care about you. Any Amazon doesn't care about. It's not personal.
Right.
Right? That part's not personal. And I think it's a good thing that we're now waking up to this because we've needed to for a long time. But waking up without being able to see the problem is like trying to convince somebody that a house could catch on fire or that a house could flood, right? From a hurricane. If they never seen it and understood the devastation. And that's the unfortunate part, is that it's easier to understand why it's important after the fact, after
it's
something,
not a problem until it's a problem.
till it's already happened to somebody else, right? That's unfortunate, but here we are. We can learn and prevent more disaster from happening. Okay, Gabo says, so if you simply created a trust instead of an LLC, would that save you this problem from the beginning?
The problem with the word trust is there's hundreds of them. Land trust, insurance trust, like what trust? Irrevocable, revocable. So no, that does not solve the problem. It's the self-directed 401k not self-directed 401k. It's the 401k and the structure of the 401k that makes this issue not a problem because of the 401 code. That doesn't necessarily mean that my land trust functions the same way. That doesn't mean that I can put my retirement assets inside of my land trust. That is not what that means at all. A 401k functions as, this retirement account functions as, or it's created with a similar structure as a trust.
But wouldn't it matter if somebody doesn't have let's say they don't have a retirement account. Mm-hmm. They just have their LLC. Mm-hmm. This doesn't apply to them now. It's a completely different strategy to do this under a business. This could be to reduce your taxable income. This could be to shelter in some way. Right?
Let me restate. Prohibited transactions do not apply to an LLC.
So,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So a lot of people purchase the real estate under their business for depreciable. Depreciation. That is a lot of people talk about with write-offs, right? But depreciating assets is really the gem. And depending on the tax bracket that you're in, that's where it could be really important. And so if you're trying to wrap that into a retirement account or associate it in any way, that's not the same benefit, right? Right. So I think these are different strategies that you're talking about. So it's not necessarily if you had created a trust instead of an LLC. I think it depends on what's the goal.
Right.
Yeah. What is the goal? And that part is even more important. And so if you have not set your goal, if you don't know what exit you're getting off on, right? If you don't understand how important it is to be able to set your destination, or that you can. Some people, they don't know that they can.
Right.
Set what's the income that you need to be able to make in retirement in order to stop working? Where are your provisions and your protection in the event that you can't trade your time for money? Those are all a part of the equation, but what is the goal? Where are we going?
Right.
What's the point? Where's the destination? It's all about the journey. Sure, that's fine. That's fun to say too. But where are we going? Where are we going? Nobody wants to get in the car and just aimlessly drive around. Where are we going, right? So it's not just the journey. It's the journey to where we need to go. And we can set that. So that's important. Okay. Ty says, but yet IRAs are really the only vehicle we can use to invest in real estate. Something seems so backwards here. Oh.
Yeah, get on my calendar. I think the short answer to that is get on my calendar and let's talk about it, because an IRA is not the only vehicle. Matter of fact, well, here's the thing. That statement comes from what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
It's the conditioning.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to believe that the IRA is the only vehicle or the best vehicle. Because I'm saying it and my phone is hearing it, I guarantee you when we go to dinner, I'm going to see all of these different social media heads going, the best thing since sliced bread is the Roth IRA.
Yeah, right.
Because, again, it's been marketed very, very well.
Yeah, and they talk about the Roth IRA like it's a brand new thing.
Exactly. But why? Why is it that an IRA has been pushed down our throat like that?
Right.
It's because it's a glorified savings account. They are easy to create. The process for creating them is not complicated, and therefore it can mass produce. And then in addition, it requires support, meaning the structure of an IRA in general is not enough for you to have control over them. So it needs support from a bank. It needs support from a custodian. And so therefore, that support means I get to charge you.
Yeah, right, that part.
Whenever you need to transfer money, there's a small fee I'll take for that. And because it has to be managed, there's a small fee I'll take for that. Balance transfer, there's a small fee I'll take for that. And so therefore they get to nickel and dime your IRA forever. Keeps them in business. So why wouldn't I, as an institution who offers IRA, why wouldn't I promote that more? Because I make more money from you in doing so.
And in addition, because they're protecting you, some of them have rules and a process in place that if you're trying to invest in things outside of what they sell, you got to have it approved.
You got to ask mom and dad.
Because they're trying to
go to the
protect
party.
you. That's right. They're trying to protect you. We're just trying to protect you. We're just trying to protect you. And so therefore, we need to know where you're going.
That's it.
Who you're going to be with.
That's it. Who's in the car.
What time are you coming home?
You smell like smoke.
No. Okay. Already off the top, that person that you just mentioned, no, you cannot hang out with them. Because we have people here we've already approved for you to hang out with. And so why don't we just hang out with one of the friends we've chosen for you?
It's true.
That's essentially what it is. And so you're going like, wow, I could have just met the love of my life, right?
As the investment of my life
I'm an
that's going
adult.
to get me to financial freedom.
Because I'm an adult.
Right.
I could have just met my match. But you keep trying to introduce me to people that you think are good for me. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, I don't want it. I don't want that. But now you're locked into a contract that says you will listen to whatever it is. You have to go through this process with them. And that's why all accounts aren't the same. All executors of these
Trust
IRAs,
estates.
Yeah, they're not all the same, right? Their process is different. Okay, let's see here. I feel like we all need true mediators when signing up for financial products, the lender, etc. Yeah, even the lenders, right? Rarely has our best interest at heart. They have their commissions at heart.
And again,
life insurance companies. And again, I provide life insurance. Life insurance companies, financial institutions, financial advisors, they're all the same. They do not care about you. So our objective...
But it's not personal.
Absolutely it's not.
Yeah, it's not personal.
Our objective is to help you understand how to become them. Become the bank.
Yeah.
Become the life insurance company. Become the financial institution. So that way you can leverage them the way they have been leveraging you.
Absolutely.
The best thing we can do is take the same actions they're taking. It's proven. It's proven that it works.
Right.
Now, that requires some action on our part. And not everyone, me included, is very interested in becoming them, because that means now I have to do more work. I have to learn more. So how do you kind of guard against that? It's about the structure. You get the right structure in place up front, so that way you don't have to worry about what's happening on the back end, because you know you did your due diligence up front.
Yeah. Gary, thank you for tuning in. He is a
Censored.
76-year-old union sheet metal worker, first to retire in the South, saying it's being censored. So I don't know what the deal is. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. But welcome.
Yeah.
We appreciate you here. And I think he's a perfect example of, he was in the time when unions were formed, right? In the time where we had these provisions for our future. The idea is, hey, you help us build a strong America and we will make sure that you're taken care of. And then slowly but surely, all of that, no, still help us build this. No, keep helping us build, but like also, can you do your own thing, right? Also, can you like build your own future? Build for us and then go home, build for you. Okay, that's your time. While you're here with us though, don't think about building for yourself. Just build for us, and then in your spare time, build for you. Now people are having 2 or 3 jobs. The retirement accounts, or the concept of retirement accounts, are only used as a retention tactic because they're not being paid enough, right? Well, who benefits from the retirement account? In the meantime, like that's where these layers and like peeling this onion, you really start to expose, okay, I don't want your retirement account because I'm in charge of it, or I'm at risk. So whatever the case is, I don't want it. Matter of fact, just pay me more. Pay me more. Whatever it is, the benefit that you thought you were getting, pass that on to me. That's the retention right there. That's it. Yeah.
And what you kind of glossed over so eloquently is, when you peel back the layers on the match, we have been conditioned to believe that the match is some benefit that we're receiving.
Yeah, right.
But if you peel back the match is what they've decided not to pay you.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
And so the match is them just giving back what they decided they were going to take from you.
And imagine somebody else
It's not in addition.
taking the maximum, right, for the match. They're taking that. You're not contributing. You're like, okay, I'll do a little bit here and there, and I'll get the match. But then if that money's not vested, do you get to take it? No, you don't. But they do have that budgeted. And in addition, for giving the match, they get a tax benefit.
And let's be clear, I'm not saying don't take the match. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm
Also,
just helping you
don't take the
understand
match.
where. No, it's understand what the match is. The match isn't like the match. The company isn't kind of the balloons didn't fall, and
Yeah.
you are now provided this match, and you should be grateful. No, you're actually getting money that you were already owed.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So go get it.
Right. So
Yeah.
take the match.
Yeah.
But just understand where it's coming from.
But also, if they give you the full match, where does this happen?
That's another rabbit hole. Full match.
Hold on.
Okay.
Where I'm going though.
Okay.
If you take the match, okay, let's say maybe $10,000 extra a year. Let's just use that number for whatever the reason. They match you. Okay. Too high?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say 5. Doesn't matter. But let's say that means 10,000 a year was put in, right? Okay, so then the next year, the next month after that year closes out, the market falls. Is the company impacted? Do all of a sudden, and the market falls, and that 10,000 is now worth 3 or 5? Do they get to not take as much tax advantage from their?
It definitely does not work both ways.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? Like it's a double dip. They get the provision and the protection on that amount. You get the consequence. Sweet, right? That's a sweet deal. If the market falls and that money that they gave you, that they matched you, is worth less, that's not their problem. It's not their problem. And that's the part of being able to take control and being in a position and understanding that you can take control to get your money out of the casino.
Right.
Because it's no different than saying, listen, we gave you all these player credits, right? We gave you player credits to go down on the floor and pull the levers a few times. We gave you those. If you pulled the levers and the lever, instead of it saying it was a jackpot, the lever said, oops, you owe us. Like, where does that happen? But that's essentially what it is. Now, instead of having $1 left, you now only have 50 cents and you didn't even pull. It just so happens that that's what this machine does, right? We told you could play in this machine. That's my point, is that it's very unfair and it's very slighted where the benefit is. So that's where it's even more important to become self-directed.
And that's the part. It's understand that this is how the game is being played. So the best that you can do is take control where you can.
Yeah.
You can't fix the world. You can't change everything. You're not going to update the plan documents on your own. You're not going to move but now that you understand that these things are at play, what are those actions you can take to take more control so you can have at least as much control possible over what your destiny looks like?
Yeah.
That's the part.
And if you want more information, you can go here to selfdirected.info/live, selfdirected.info. If you want to jump on his calendar, selfdirected.info/calendar. You want to just go there directly. Selfdirected.info, because it's easier to remember. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Then you can get anything as long as you know how to get there.
And if it's the Gary that I think I'm referencing, we've talked a few different times. So yeah, absolutely, Gary. You know how to get on my calendar. He's gotten on it before. So.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, and then I appreciate sharing this information for everybody. Yeah. Sometimes we just got to ask questions for others who don't know. It's okay to ask questions here. Okay. Gabo says this is similar when banks start pushing their refi offers and their marketing makes it look like it's the greatest thing to do, which in 7 out of 10 times is not the best solution to get your equity out. Man, where are our sound effects?
We can beat the dead horse, but I think that's perfectly stated and enough said.
Yeah. Yeah. We love that argument around here and we love to talk about it. For sure. Okay. Ty says, and that's a scam in and of itself. We don't even have the time to read and digest the IRS code or the U.S. code for that matter if we're busy trying to make a living.
Should you have to?
There it is.
Right? If you're gonna have fiduciary responsibility, then do that.
Yeah.
Have my back.
Yeah, let's do
right?
that.
Let's just start there.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. All right. I'm sure we have other questions that have come in, but in the meantime, if you have any other questions, if you want someone to help you better understand your IRA, your 401k, or what it would look like to transition into a self-directed version of that account, this is you can also go right here to selfdirected.info/live.
Easy to get on my calendar.
Yep. And okay, so I think
we're good?
Yeah, I think that might be it.
Perfect.
All right. Sequia's like, hey, hold on a second. I care about people.
Well, and that's just it. Providing, because I'm a life insurance agent myself, right? There's certain things that I can or can't control. I am not a life insurance company. So what my responsibility is to make sure I'm working with life insurance companies who feel the same way.
Yeah.
What I can make sure I can do is structure products such that they have the least amount of fees, the maximum amount of growth. They're designed for the client versus designed for the life insurance company. So that's the best thing that we as life insurance, I'll call it agents, can do, is make sure we're putting our best foot forward to structure things properly. Again, and that's because we know that this game is rigged.
Yeah. Well, we can call it a lot of things, but what we can say is how it was sold, what it was intended to do, or the claims around that. I think over time we've learned really only pertain to one generation. One generation got to benefit from those promises, right? And we all know where this generation came from, and a lot of the decisions that were made from this generation during this time were made from a time when this was an inspiring sentiment, right? It was an inspiring sentiment to think that you could take care of your entire family. Like, these pensions did not exist before, right? The idea that you wouldn't end up with like Grandpa George and Grandpa Georgina, Grandpa Joe and Grandpa Josephine in all four of you in one bed, right? Being taken care of by somebody else, and now you're just a burden, or having to live with your family longer. Like, you had independence. Like, this idea of this was coming out, and also coming out of the Great Depression. Like,
Right.
this was
It's true.
these promises and these claims were like, yes, this is the direction that we want to go, and we want to hold on to this forever, and we want our kids to have it better than we had. And can you imagine what this world would look like if we just put people first? That's essentially what this was. Hope dealers, right? Hope dealers that also were dealing in the meat and the jello. We know that it was heavy on the meat
This is a setup.
and
We
the
knew-
jello
we knew it was coming.
back in
This was a setup.
those days. Molded meat and jello, and now this is what we got. This is what we got, folks. All right. So I think we've got all the questions together.
So again, this was born out of a presentation that I'll be giving next week. So I hope this was meaningful, because I can't see things that I would normally see them during the live. So I don't know how, like, from the questions, it sounds like it has been, but I just don't know. So I'm curious if there's interest in understanding a little bit more detail around this subject. As I mentioned, this was one of 3 topics that I was going to cover, and I just knew this would be a super long live if I covered all 3. But just as, if you want to call this topic today shocking, just as shocking as this topic is, look up the McNulty rule. Look up the McNulty rule. That is also just as shocking as it relates to your IRA. And that's probably what we'll dig into once I come off this event next week. And in addition, like I mentioned, if there's any other questions you have around IRAs, 401ks, properly structured cash value, life insurance-based products, HELOCs, velocity banking, whatever the case may be, use this as an opportunity for to ask me anything as well. So
We appreciate all of your support as well.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking about time, the time we do or don't have to be able to research this stuff, the time that we are out here trying to secure our future, right? Time is the most important factor out of all this. We know that time can make or break. In this case, time could be the thing that is the biggest consequence out of the whole equation, right?
That's right.
But we know that time is the most valuable asset that we have. And we're so grateful that you're spending your time here with us. So thank you for the feedback. Sequia says, this channel always provides great info. And we really, really love the feedback. What would you like to know more of? What rabbit holes or what areas can we dig more into so that we can help spread the word and get this information out there? We want to know what our community sees as valuable and the information that can be useful to you right now. That's important to us. But on that note,
Let's do it.
we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
so stay tuned,
Stay protected,
stay focused.
stay connected.
I'm Angelique,
And I'm Donnell.
and our goal is to help you.
As always, get self-directed.
And to do that, we have a ton of free resources and a calendar you can jump on right now. We will be back here on Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're here every week, and we thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait. Invest in what you want, when you want. But first, let us help you
Get self-directed.